What's up, Net Soldiers? I'm the Alliance, and welcome back to another video. As you guys could probably tell from my videos recently, I've been kind of taking a little bit of a break again. A lot of real life stuff I gotta deal with, but looks like I'm okay for now, so I'm gonna try to start pushing out videos more. So that's good. Now today, as you can tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be ranking all the MCU movies from worst to best. But I'm going to be doing it a little bit different than my usual way. So what I did with my previous movie ranked videos is I would put them all in a specific order of how I would see them and how I would rank them personally. But I wanted to kind of experiment a little bit. So what I did was I downloaded an app that allowed me to put every single MCU movie against each other in a completely random versus. So pretty much while I am picking the winner of which one I liked most, in the end of the, let's say, tournament-like ranking system, it tells me unbiasedly which way they would be ranked without me actually choosing. So while it is technically biased because I chose between which movies I liked the most when it came to, one versus one, the list itself isn't biased. So I think it's actually going to be pretty interesting because I actually haven't even seen my results. So you guys are going to see my reaction to which movies I ranked the worst and which movies I ranked the best. And I have no idea. I think I have an idea what the very worst one is and what the very best one is, but the rest could be anything. So let's see how it goes. I just like this way because I've never seen another YouTuber or anything ever really rank movies like this before, and I thought it'd be interesting. So let's just see how it works. If you guys like this way of ranking, you want to see more stuff like this, I'll probably keep doing this. But if you want a more traditional way of how I used to rank my videos, I might just do those too. These are kind of like the same videos, just a little bit different because of the ranking system. And at the end, I'm also going to be covering how the Net Alliance fans actually voted these movies ranked. So without further ado, here is number 23. Number 23, we have Iron Man 3. Wow. You know what? I'm not surprised. You know why? Because here's the thing. Initially, I didn't like Iron Man 3 because of the Mandarin thing, and I know that's a lot of reasons why other people didn't like it either. But upon rewatching, I just think there's too much going on. I think mostly it suffers from the idea of trying to outdo Iron Man 2 and trying to kind of be better than that it ends up falling short for me. I just think it tries to do too much, and that's the biggest downfall of the entire movie, because while the rest of the movies in this franchise, especially even surprisingly Doctor Strange, I can understand, Iron Man 3, it loses you. It's kind of like, wait, what's going on? And there's a bunch of different elements to it that just make it the worst film. Now, before I go any further, here's the thing. I think every single MCU movie is good in its own way. I don't think this movie is crap. No movie in the MCU is actually crap. However, this movie is the worst out of all of them. So while this movie isn't bad, it's not good. And it's just kind of meh. So that's why it is number 23 on this list. Okay, so like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I kind of had a feeling of what the worst was going to be, and I think I know what the best is going to be, but the rest of these, I have no idea. So, on to number 22, we have Ant-Man 2. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Ant-Man 2 that's an interesting placement for that, because I always just kind of assumed, I liked Ant-Man 2, but as time has gone on, and I've seen it like 2 or 3 times now, it's a pretty standard movie. It's not bad. It's better than Iron Man 3, but it's just kind of okay. And I think a big reason for why it's perceived the way it is because it followed Infinity War in the theaters, and Infinity War was this massive thing, and then we go back to see Ant-Man, and it's just kind of, it's kind of okay. It's like a little appetizer before Endgame, and it just wasn't my type of film. Not bad. I enjoyed it. It just was. Ant-Man's never been like my favorite type of movie. Same with Doctor Strange. Yeah, so I'm not surprised that's 22. I'm just more surprised it is so low. This makes me wonder how the rest of this ranking is gonna go. Okay, on to the next one. We have. Oh my gosh. People are going to fillet me in the comments, guys. At number 21, we have Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Oh my gosh. My previous rankings of these movies, I put Guardians somewhere around 10 or 11 or something like that, and people really hated me for that. So Guardians is number 21 on my rank. Okay, so this is the reason why I believe it got to there. I just like all the other superhero movies a lot. I like them all. Some are better than others. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, I rewatched it recently, and I do believe it is better than I remember it being. I still think I find it just okay. I mentioned this before. There is like your Guardians of the Galaxy is kind of like Star Wars-ish, and then like Marvel is my superhero fix, you know? So I get my sci-fi fix for my Star Wars movies, and I get my superhero fix for my Marvel movies. Now that's not to say I don't like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think it's actually a good film. It's just, I guess I ranked it below other ones like Iron Man 2 and like The Incredible Hulk. So, like I said, guys, because this is a completely unbiased rank, you can't get mad at me. That's just the way it goes. That is the rule of the internet. Okay, on to number 20. We have Iron Man 2. Okay, so I just mentioned Iron Man 2 in the previous one, and here's the thing about Iron Man 2. I actually initially thought that that was like the worst film in the entire MCU. Actually, my previous ranking of these entire series actually had Iron Man 2 at the least. Now, the reason why I think it is as high as it is because before Endgame came out, I actually binge watched all these films with my wife, and I was surprised how much I actually enjoyed this film. It's weird because when that movie first came out, I thought it was total garbage, and I think people still consider it garbage, but it's come around to me. I actually am a pretty big fan of that film now. I mean, it's still not good. It's still kind of just okay, but I actually prefer it over Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess. Or at least this is what this rank says, so I'm gonna get killed in the comments. But yeah, I think the character stuff that goes on in the film, it gets a lot more hate than it actually deserves. And I think if people were to go rewatch this now, knowing what happens in Endgame, I think you appreciate the previous films a lot more. I actually remember the first phase of movies, besides Iron Man, kind of just be considered mediocre by a lot of people. But I think that the newer films coming out pretty much makes those older ones better. It makes them more concrete, and it makes their stories just thrive better. I'm going to say it's alright. So that's why it's number 20 on this list. At number 19, we have The Incredible Hulk. That would make sense. I'm actually surprised The Incredible Hulk is above Guardians of the Galaxy. I rewatched that one recently. Not as bad as I remember. Still not great, but just kind of okay. Just like Iron Man 2. Not much more to talk about that. At number 18, we have Ant-Man 1. Okay, so that would make sense too. Like I said, with Ant-Man 2, I'm not a massive fan of these films. I think that Ant-Man is okay. He's kind of like Doctor Strange or the Hulk for me. He's better in an ensemble, or he's better when he has someone to work off with, and I actually thought that that's why Ant-Man 2 would be higher than Ant-Man 1, but rewatching the films, Ant-Man 1 is better than Ant-Man 2, but it's still just okay. It's not a great film or anything like that, but that's why it's 18. At number 17, we have Doctor Strange. Yeah, so Doctor Strange has always been a weird one to me. The visual effects in the film are phenomenal. They're great. The issue is, Doctor Strange, like I said, he's a better ensemble character in my opinion. I like when he's with other people. And so while Doctor Strange, the first time I saw it, didn't really catch me, when I see him in Endgame and Infinity War, and he's like part of a team, and he has more to his character where he's helping other people along with their stories, that's why I'm kind of just like okay with Doctor Strange, and like I said, he's a better ensemble character in my opinion. I would say out of all these movies, Doctor Strange makes you think the most compared to the rest of them, but when it comes down to it, Doctor Strange, still not a great film, so it's number 17. At number 16, we have Thor 1. Wow, I'm actually surprised Thor 1 is as low as it is. I actually remember really liking Thor when I first saw it. But then again, I guess it's kind of aged compared to the other Phase 1 films, especially when you compare it to like Iron Man 1 or Captain America 1, those both were great movies, so I shouldn't be too surprised. At number 15, we have Spider-Man Homecoming. Oh wow, that's actually pretty low there too, but I guess almost every single MCU films, at least over half of them is actually really good films, so it would make sense why it would be this high, because there's so many good movies that are in front of it. For me, Homecoming was okay. You gotta remember, I'm coming from the time of Tobey Maguire. And so, whenever I see a Spider-Man movie, it instantly gets compared to Spider-Man 2. And in my opinion, Spider-Man 2 is like the best Spider-Man movie still. So it's hard for them to really compare. So that's a big reason for why I think it's as low as it is. But when it comes down to it, Spider-Man Homecoming, number 15, it's a good film. I think it's good. It's just not great like some of the other stuff later on. All right, coming in at number 14, we have Thor 2. So there's where Thor 2 is. Thor 2 is considered by a lot of people as one of the worst movies in the MCU. I disagree. I think it was actually a good film. I actually rewatched it, and I think that it's still good. Not great, just good. Still, I think that Loki should have died in that film. Although I do like the character of Loki, I thought that his redemption in that film was probably the best send-off for him. But of course, can't kill off Loki because he always survives. Even in a different time, we got to bring him back somehow. We'll just jump to a different time, then bring him back for his own TV show. So, yeah, Thor 2's, that's okay, I guess. Thor 2's good at number 14. At number 13, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. Wow. I guess that, yeah, I thought it was a good film. I actually do like that one more than Homecoming. I know that's like a big thing between like people right now, is that people can't really decide which one's better between Homecoming and Far From Home. I enjoyed Far From Home more than Homecoming, but I think that might be because I had more time to kind of get used to Tom Holland. I would prefer for Spider-Man, at least Spider-Man 3, if the next Spider-Man has nothing to do with Tony Stark. So I know that Tony is a big deal in the MCU, but I'm kind of tired of having him always have to be traced back to Spider-Man. Like, everything Spider-Man does has to do with Tony. So I'm hoping for the next film, which would be like Spider-Man 3 coming out whenever, I hope that they kind of just let Peter be the character of interest and not Tony. Just leave Tony out completely. I mean, I guess you can have like a little, like, you know, someone can say something about him, of course, because Spider-Man definitely had a big relationship with Tony, but it was just a little bit too much about Tony. And I liked the film. It just wasn't great. I think it was good. Wasn't great. At number 12, we have Captain Marvel. Yeah, so here's the thing about Captain Marvel. I actually really like the film. I know that there's a lot of, people are saying there's a lot of political agenda in them, and too much of trying to show, like, female empowerment, or not female empowerment, but too much girl power. Kind of like in Endgame, you know, the girl power scene. That was a little too much. But for me, I think Captain Marvel was very subtle. I think it didn't exactly pull like a Force Awakens or a Last Jedi, where it makes all women seem like they do no wrong and women are always right. And I think it does a good job of showing Carol as a character. I know a lot of people hate Brie Larson for whatever her messages and stuff she personally says, and that aside, I don't look at that when it comes to this movie, because this movie is not about Brie Larson. This movie is about Carol Danvers and her story. So I like it. I think it was good. Wasn't great, but it was definitely not bad. I could see the argument on people's opinions for it being bad, but I personally think that it's good. So that's why she's at number 12. All right, coming in at number 11, we have Black Panther. So Black Panther, I'm not surprised it's here. I like the film. I think the film was a pretty solid movie. I think it's one of the highest box office out of the rest of these movies besides the Avengers films. So you can probably guess people like that film. However, for me anyways, while it's good, it's still not great compared to some of the later films we see in this list. And I think a big part of that has to do with the last act of the film. On the last about 20 minutes, the CGI was way too choppy in that, and it takes you out of the film. So I actually read online one time that final sequence of the whole fight going on between Killmonger and Black Panther, that was actually done in like 2 months or something like that, maybe 6 weeks, which to do that entire CGI fight in that amount of time is insane. So think of how much overtime people had to put in just to make that fight scene go. So while I consider that, when it comes down to it, while I respect the people who did the work, and I think for that amount of time, it looks great. The issue is not how they got it done and the amount of time they had. The issue is that it looks choppy. And maybe the movie, if it had to taken back maybe like a month, 2 months, 3 months to kind of let them finish that before finally releasing it, I'd understand. But the issue is they didn't. And because of that, the ending of Black Panther suffers. Now, of course, Marvel has a ton of money. They can go back and they can fix all their CGI in their movies if they want. They can go back to the Incredible Hulk and they can fix Abomination. They probably won't, but they could do stuff like that. So Black Panther, at least the ending, could be revisited and the CGI could be cleaned up in the future, theoretically speaking. And I think that would be nice, because then I think Black Panther would be a great film. But the CGI is too cartoony for me. Now, like I said, that's just my opinion. I'm more creative like that. I like to pick at things because I'm a cinephile. I just see stuff like that. So I understand why it wouldn't really bother other people, but it does bother me. So that's why it's number 11. So at number 10, we have Thor Ragnarok. Now, this is interesting because in the previous ranking, I actually put Thor Ragnarok, I believe, behind both Thor 1 and 2. But the reason is because Thor Ragnarok grew on me. When Thor Ragnarok came out, the thing that bothered me the most about that film is that it was a betrayal of the Thor character we've seen so far. However, in time, especially with Infinity War and Endgame, we see a more jokey Thor. And I've kind of come around to enjoying that Thor more. So while I didn't like the fact that Thor Ragnarok kind of dumbed down Thor, it kind of paid off in the long run, so I'm okay with it more now. And overall, I can kind of just relax on that aspect, and it makes the movie just good and fun. So that's why it's number 9 on here. Coming in at number 9, we have Captain America Civil War. So this isn't really surprising much. When I first saw Captain America Civil War, I wasn't a massive fan of it, just because there's a lot of story points that I just didn't agree with. I thought the whole Baron Zemo's whole plan was just messed up, but in time it's kind of come around. It's kind of like Thor Ragnarok. There was like one part of the film that just kind of brought the entire thing down for me, but once I came around to it, I was just kind of okay with the idea that maybe the super smart guy can kind of put this entire thing together. I mean, think about it. Tony Stark can make an Iron Man suit out of like little bots, you know what I mean? So why wouldn't it be possible that there is just like a super smart dude out there who can kind of foil a plan together and make it work? So I've come around to it, and it's a good film. I don't know if I can say it's great, but it's definitely good. At number 8, we have Captain America, the First Avenger. So this one is interesting. I actually thought that this might be behind Civil War, but for me, Captain America, the First Avenger was always a good film. And I rewatched the film now, knowing what happened in Endgame, and it just completes it. It makes it so much more better. And I think that, like I said earlier, like the newer movies will kind of add upon the greatness, or kind of show the greatness that people didn't see before of the previous films. And that's the best example is in Captain America 1. You know, you get to see this whole relationship between Steve and Peggy, and then you feel bad for Steve because he never really gets that love, and then in the Endgame he does. And so it's great, and I think that's one of the things that make Captain America 1 a great film. Okay, at number 7 we have... Okay, this one might actually make some people upset. If you weren't already upset before, you might be upset now. At number 7 we have Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. So for me, I like this movie. I don't just like this movie because of the characters interacting, and you know, I think the story is pretty solid too. But man, Ultron is such a good villain. Like, I think Ultron, compared to Loki and Thanos, of course, he's okay. But compared to a lot of other villains in the MCU, he's great. And not just because of his silky smooth voice, used by James Spader, man. I love it. It's so good. But also with him just being such a villainous bad guy. You know, Loki was just a tool in Thanos' plans, right? Thanos, he had the idea he wanted to save the universe. Ultron just wanted to kill humanity. Like, he just wanted to start over. So I just think his motives were so much more, like, scary. Because there was no good that can come from this if everyone's gone. You know, the idea is that if there's two people in a fight and you kill them both, the conflict's gone, right? Think about it. No one can kill each other if everyone's already dead. So, wow. So right there is the explanation to why it is as high as it is on this list. So, Avengers 2, I think gets more hate than it deserves, and that's why it's at number 7. At number 6, we have Iron Man 1. For me, Iron Man 1 has always been one of the greatest superhero films, and only in more recent times have we seen movies start to top it. It's a great film. It started off the entire MCU. Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark, and it's just a great film, and that's why it's at number 6 here. So jumping to number 5, this one might make people mad too. I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So for me, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 took the characters of the original film and they made them better. They just made them pop more. There was always this thing about Guardians 1 that kind of made me go like, these people don't feel like they would be friends. They would not stick together. But then by the time you meet them in Volume 2, which is apparently supposed to start like right after the first one ended, I think that's what they say, you believe their chemistry. And that's good. That shows a progression. But I think that their characters are better having that chemistry compared to just kind of being together because the plot requests it. Now, of course, while I love the characters, which is an important thing, I also really like the story. I thought it was really interesting to kind of dive into Star-Lord's history and kind of see what's going on with him and his father, Ego. So it's interesting because when I originally saw this film, I wasn't too excited for it because I saw Guardians 1, and that one didn't really make a big impression on me, so I didn't really expect much from this one, but it just surprised me, and did a really good job. So that's why it's a great film, and that's why it's number 5 on my list. Alright, now we're at the final 4 on this list. I don't know exactly how this is going to go. I'm pretty sure I know who's going to win, and I don't know who's going to get 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, so this is going to be interesting. Let's see what we can figure out here. Coming at number 4, we have Avengers 1. Wow. That is surprising because my entire MCU watching career, Avengers 1 has always been my very best. So I'm actually surprised to see what's next. I thought that was going to be number 1. I guess it didn't win. Okay. Well, that kind of throws off the rest of this video because I kind of was going to end with that one. But I guess I'll talk about it like this. So the reason why I believe it's number 4 is because not only is it a great film, not only did it bring all of our heroes together, but it was the thing that made the MCU great. You know, before, we kind of saw these characters coming together. Each film was either great, bad, okay. They kind of had their own thing, but this was the film that made the MCU into what it is today. So while Iron Man may have started the MCU, it was the Avengers that proved that they needed to exist and keep making these films because they're so good, and it is what fortified the entire franchise into what it is today. Alright, now on to our number 3. We have Avengers Infinity War. I can see why. Infinity War was definitely a very good film. I had a good time watching it. I would say overall, it was a very enjoyable film. I had no issues really with the plot. I think the cool thing about this film, I mean besides the Avengers films, are named after their specific main character, right? So we have Iron Man movie, it's called Iron Man. You have a Captain America movie, it's called Captain America. But Avengers Infinity War could have just been called Thanos. And that is so crazy because our antagonist, our villain, I guess you could say, he is the main character. And I guess you could say that really turned the entire MCU on its head because we've never seen that before. We've never seen a main character also be our villain. And not just that, but also do a great job. And just make a really fun and awesome, engaging film. So, yeah, overall, just, I'm not surprised why it's number 3. It's so good. Okay, now we're at our final 2. I was pretty sure Avengers 1 was going to be in the final 2, but I'm surprised it isn't. So I guess we'll see how this goes. All right, at number 2 we have Avengers Endgame. I'm not surprised it's number 2. It's a really great, engaging film. Not only is it the cap to the entire Thanos saga, or I should say, the Infinity Saga, it is the culmination of years of story, just meeting at a head point and just being such a fun, engaging film. Now, there are some issues with it. Primarily, the biggest issue, you guys probably already know what it's going to be. It's going to be the time travel thing. But the whole situation with that is that every film that does time travel is a little messy. So you can kind of you give it the okay because it is a comic book film, and overall, it's still a really good movie. And of course, how can you not like the ending fight of this film? The last 30 minutes of this movie make the entire film worth it. So even if you don't like the time travel stuff, or you think the plot is boring, when you get to the last 30 minutes of this film, it just makes the movie ultimate. It makes the movie so good, and it's so good. So, so good, so great. Not a perfect film, but very, very good, and that's why it is number 2 on this list. So that means at number 1 we have Captain America the Winter Soldier. Since this movie was released, this has been one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. And given the day, I could choose between either Avengers 1 or this movie because this movie is so good. Not only is this movie good for making Captain America, like, awesome, it's not even like a superhero film. Like, it is, but it's not. And if you don't like superhero movies, you can still really enjoy this film. This is an action movie. It's an espionage movie. It's an, like, going against the government movie. Like, overall, it's just such a good movie. And not only is it good, but it also teaches the lesson to never stop asking questions, because a lot of people do that in life. They just eventually just give up. They stop asking questions and they just kind of set their life, but you don't have to. You can be whoever you want to be. Don't let anybody else tell you different, because you are who you are because you choose to be that person. And I think that's a great message in the end. You know, even when everyone's saying, just stop asking questions, just go along with it. Cap says, no, boo-boo, I don't care how much money you're paying me. I'm gonna do what I think is right. And that is something that every single person should live by. To do the right thing. For if you have the ability to help someone, you have the moral obligation to do so. And I think that is this film. It is just great. Near perfect. No film is perfect, but it is near perfect in my opinion. And overall, relationship between Cap and Bucky, it's just so good. And that's why it's number 1 on this list. Alright, starting off the fan polls, this is out of 4,000 votes. We have, at number 23, we have The Incredible Hulk. That makes sense. That's a pretty disliked film out of the entire franchise. Number 22, we have Thor 2, The Dark World. That makes sense. At number 21, Captain Marvel. Wow, that's really low on this list. That's what you guys voted for, so I guess that's the way it is. At number 20, we have Ant-Man 2. At number 19, we have Iron Man 2. At number 18, we have Thor, the first one, and those all make sense. At number 17, we have Avengers Age of Ultron. Wow, that's really low. I'm actually surprised by that one. Number 16, we have Ant-Man 1. Number 15, there's Iron Man 3. And number 14, Avengers 1. Wow, that's really low. Wow. I bet there's people who commented about me making Guardians low. Avengers 1 should not be that low, guys. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, number 13 we have Doctor Strange. Number 12 is Spider-Man 1, or Homecoming. Number 11 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 10 is Black Panther. And number 9 is Avengers Infinity War. Wow, that's really low-ish too. Man. Number 8 is Captain America, the First Avenger. At number 7, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. That's really high. I wonder if that's actually high because people actually like it a lot, or if it's just really high because that was like the most recent and the hype is kind of around it. I guess we'll see when the next movies come out. We'll see if that's still on top or up there. Number 6, we have Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I don't agree with it, but a lot of people do love that movie, so that's okay. Number 5, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. It's a good position for it. Alright, sorry about that. My camera actually just died randomly. So, where we were at was, number 4 was Thor Ragnarok. Number 3 is Captain America Civil War. Number 2 is Iron Man 1. And of course, number 1 is Avengers Endgame. Now, it is the question of, since that is the newer movie, or it's one of the newest movies, is it because of the hype around it being new, or is it actually really good? I guess only time will tell. But that's it for this video, guys. Please remember to like, subscribe, and turn notifications for more videos. Did you like this form of ranking, or did you prefer the older ways? Let me know in the comments below. Please remember to like, subscribe, and turn notifications for more. Send me some ideas, guys. Let me know what you want to see from my videos. Just let me know in the comments below. But that's it for now, guys. I will catch you later. Thank you for watching. Peace.